And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your griot, Sensei Al Bob. I'm here to tell you stories. Don't believe a word I say. This is all for entertainment's sake. What can I say but welcome aboard? And I slept in. I am back where my friend has a really nice bed, and I was sleeping in it, and that was good. So, um, just refreshed today. Um, and yeah, I'm back out in the deep woods, so, there aren't too many people around me, like no one. So, if I go through the next 14 days, I'll be, hey, no problem. I'm already, hey, no problem. But I'm watching, it's interesting. Italy, who is right now a basket case, right now about to eat itself, right? It has a better healthcare system than the United States per capita. It has more ICU beds per capita. Has more, respiratory machines per capita. Has single payer healthcare, right? Has if you're sick, it takes it. You get a paycheck. Um, these are all things we don't have. We are. They had abilities to have satellite hospitals, meaning when their hospital got filled up, they had the ability to move equipment into like warehouses and set up, a coronavirus um, ward. Today and yesterday and the day before yesterday, um, the Carrot Pinhead, first he had a Oval Office fireside chat with the American people, and he blew that one. I mean, he couldn't even read the teleprompter, and he got a lot of like he said, and we will not let anyone in from Europe, and no cargo. Well, that's not true. We're going to cargo in, and by him saying that, the stock market dropped precipitously the next day, like 2,500 points. I mean, he is one gigantic wrecking ball, and he is taking out the neocon, um, you know, neoconservative uh, New World Order, right? Thus allowing the opportunity for the hidden hand to put forth its really fascist New World Order, right? So it's not like they can't do it. Korea, hip to it. You compare China to Korea, Korea to Japan. China blip has leveled off faster than anybody else's, but still, it has like 14,000 um, folk who, I'm not quite sure, but about 20,000, give or take, people who are sick of this, and 1,000 people who died, right? And China has, 60, 70,000 people, and, somewhere about 4 or 5,000 people who died. Maybe. I'm not quite sure on all these numbers. I'm just kind of got my eyes closed and seeing what my Akashic record is saying. And so my Akashic record sees things that, you know, MSNBC won't tell you. But again, don't believe a word I say, right? This is just Grimm's fairy tales. And have any of you out there, hey, Lena, dear, how is it doing in Sweden? Are people freaking out? Uh, has your country been able to mitigate the situation, or at least put their citizens at ease? Do you know anybody in Italy? Seeing that you're in the EU, do you know any people around? And what can you report? Well, of course. Well, of course, what? A horse is a horse, of course, of course. Unless your horse is named Mr. Ed. And Mr. Ed, the horse, is the man who's in charge of, the National Human Resources and Health, right? And NHH, right? And that's Mr. Ed. I mean, today's little news conference was really amazing because everyone, I mean, Donald Trump looked like he was, there's this TV cartoon show called The Family Guy, and Peter Griffin is the Family Guy, and that looks just like, I mean, because, you know, when everyone else is talking, Carrot Boy was looking off like, well, they're not talking about me, so I won't pay any attention. Whereas Mike Pence, who was standing next to him, was looking at the butt of the lady who runs the CDC, and he was going, "Oh, I got to get some of that." And the woman, she wore a scarf tied around her neck, very 1970s. She kind of looked like Wonder Woman, and she was going, "I'm going to get that that little twerpy guy. He's the smartest one, Anthony, whatever his name is. I don't, I can't fire him because it makes me look good. Every country is handling it differently. Oh, yeah, this is true. If you understand the virus, then you'll have a better chance. Exactly. No one seems to understand the virus. Lena, do you watch and also your name there, NBVJH. You're like me when I just kind of twiddle something down. Um, there's a YouTube channel called Crow House with Max Igon. He's quite an interesting guy. Together, that's the only way to be. Yep, coming together. United States, not so much coming together. Yep, go to us all. Yep. Yeah, me too. I kind of had a sense of this back in 2018 when there was a little news blip that a laboratory in Canada had sent out um, RNA strands of Ebola and AIDS and my when you mix and match DNA and you get different species. What are they? I can't pronounce it. Don't have enough teeth, but it's a bastard, and it was sending out these RNA strands through the mail. If somebody opened it up or dropped it on the floor, they could have had a real oops uh, moment, just like the name of this um, YouTube is called. Oops, there we go again. Uh, well, the best thing about any viral anything is wash your hands and take your vitamins, pretty much. But I think it's going to take care of the elderly problem. Yep. Well, I fit in that elderly problem. I don't see it a problem. Every part of your life, infant, baby, young child, adolescent, teenager, young adult, middle aged, old adult, old person. And when you get to be an old person, you should pick up the mantle of elder, right? So then it's not a problem. You're performing a service. Yep, this has happened many times before. My mom, back in the 1914 pandemic, or 18 or whenever it was, during the First World War, her whole family went to her aunt's for Thanksgiving, which was out. She lives up there in upstate New York, and back in she was born in 1909, and so that was real country up there. And so they went to the aunt's house, and it was a farm, and it had a big snowstorm, and they were there for Thanksgiving. And when she got back around March, because they were snowed in from Thanksgiving to March up there, they couldn't get out. And so they were fine. They stayed up there with Auntie, and she had a big house and lots of food canned, and it was no big deal, right? A lot of fireplaces. And Auntie was happy because my mom had 8 brothers, right? So they were all strapping and cut wood, do the chores. So Auntie was happy. Anyway, my mom came back, and everyone in her high school class but her and her sister were dead from this plague. So I don't think this one's going to be quite as bad as this one, but it was called the Spanish flu, and that's only because the Spanish were the only guys not fighting the press, give more or less. So they're the only ones who really told the story of what happened. So within a pandemic kind of steady way, numbers and all of the above. So that's kind of what we're missing here. And we've only tested something on the order of like 3,500 people for the whole United States, and 200 of them died. So again, these aren't statistics you're going to find on MSNBC. It's just coming from my Akashic record. So what is that? 400? No, 200 into 40, or let's just say 200 into 4,000. So that's like, that's once this thing gets going, no matter how much Carrot Head wants to ignore this, you're going to go, your next door neighbor just killed over, so you'll be noticing this. Soap and water is the best. Really, it is. It really is. Soap and water. But you got to do it for a good 20 seconds at least. Yeah, germs don't stop at borders. This is true. So, and it's already in America, meaning, stopping people from coming here isn't going to do much. It's already here, just like the Chinese. They knew about this back in October, and they didn't do anything about it. They ignored it, right? And they let the horse out of the barn by 5 million people, right? They let 5 million people get out of Hunan province. And they went all over the place, all over China and all over the world, because it was Hong Kong New Year's, and that's their big, the one time everybody gets to go someplace. So the horse is out of the barn. It's all over the planet. It's going to run its course. The best thing you can do, about 10% of the folk will die. 20% will get really sick. And if you are prepared to have those people in the ICU and give them ventilation and etc., then they're going to do okay. If you were to get everyone to wash their hands. But the other day, I went and had my eyes operated on, and I was wearing a super duper orange suit, the kind of orange material. The guy who's, a policeman late at night has the bright. I had that bright of a suit on, so no one could miss me. And I had goggles and a mask, right? And I sat in a corner of the doctor's waiting room where there wasn't anybody, in every direction. There were 10 empty seats. So I sat there and was looking at the internet on my phone. And people were they saw this glowing character in the corner and they stayed away from me. And that was very nice for about 2 hours. And just before my friend came to get me, these big four, morbidly obese people, kind of what I look like when I work for the desk, they were like probably hovering between 380 and 450 in weight, and so they came right over and sat right next to me. I mean, they could have sat over so there'd be 5 chairs between me and them, but no, they sat virtually in my lap, and they started to proceed to cough. Well, I had my goggles and mask on, and then I took out blue gloves. The doctors. I took them out and snapped them on my hand, and I said, "Why don't you cough into your, like that? That's the pandemic cough. You cough into here." And the lady said, "Why do I have to do that?" I said, "Well, because you're probably, symptomatic and going to die soon. You don't want to spread the plague. If I'm sick, I'm taking as many people with me." And she actually said that. So when you have people like that, good luck for that. Well, they ain't dropping anytime soon, that's for sure. And if this is a weaponized biologic weapon, what'll happen is, so right now, everyone, it's going up, right? The people getting sick going up, 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 up. And by April 1st, if it doesn't kind of plane out and go down, that's what a normal virus would do. Go up, hit a plane, go down, right? And that means a lot of people have, been asymptomatic. It's gotten in their body. They've gotten uh, you know, it's not going to affect them. And more people will be that. And then the flu will kind of burn itself out. That's what they call it. But if it around April 1st, it just has a little blip and then starts to go up again, well, then this is a weaponized biological weapon, right? And it's going to last for 3 years, right? And the major component of biologic weapon within the strategy of that, you don't want to kill everyone. What you want to do is infect everyone and get the state to have to put them in hospital, take care of them, do something with them. And, that makes the government that less capable of going up against your foe. So if around April 1st the thing plateaus and starts to go down, then it's just a virus, like a strong flu. But it's novel. It hasn't been seen again. So this would be a good point to, get ready for the real thing, right? And Carrot Pinhead, basically, in the last 3.5 years, has gotten rid of every element. It's cut the CDC. It has cut, like in the State Department, the Defense Department, the national security community. They all had offices for pandemics because they deal with all of those things. The Treasury Department. They're all. I mean, the real thing this is going to rake is not so much the health of the United States. It is going to show the that our economy is not doing great, and we're going to we're going to probably have the worst economic collapse that the United States has ever experienced. And the United States has, I mean, our economy is based on boom and bust, right? But this is going to be beyond that, right? And again, this is another orchestrated. Nothing goes down without it being, scripted. And so the hidden hand wants this to occur because it will be able to force uh, the world to have a digital monetary system, and it will base your face Your face will be your credit card. No chip, no nothing. Your face, period. Your face. And they're going to do put a chip. They're going to put it right here, and right here is right here. This little spot right here is the plexus of your nervous system and the cranial sacral nine pulses. And if you put a electromagnetic device there that is amplifying, um, 60 hertz and of the right frequency and the right amplitude, um, it will be able to basically control you. Period. Grab a hold of you, turn you into a robot. And I think that was pretty much the bottom line of this. Plus, the other thing, we're not even taking a look at this, but North Korea, you know, if it, can barely feed its people, right? Right next door in China and South Korea, they had, this breakout. And, North Korea hardly has any public health. So if they really start getting really sick, and I don't think they can keep up their little empire. Well, they're going to go out in a blaze of glory. They have nuclear weapons and missiles to, deploy them. So they're going to, make some ridiculous demand, and so that's a war place. Again, Iran has been pressured by the West, since, the Ayatollah, and they are having a hard time dealing with this, right? And they're already economically crushed. So they could really, we have, aircraft carriers going up and down the Strait of Hormuz, goes right by their front door. They send out a whole bunch of guys in speedboats with bombs at the tip, and you go sink a super tanker or a super, um, aircraft carrier, And then we have Syria, where Turkey is basically playing with Third World War with Russia, right? So we're not even looking at those, you know. So it's economic collapse, a public health collapse, and a planetary. I mean, if India and Pakistan, because they fire rounds at each other all the time. If they ever get like a little uppity, and they start throwing their nukes at each other, if Modi thinks, oh wow, I could, if I do a quickie and try and blow up all their nukes and take out their capital city, well, maybe we could take that place back, And that guy's pretty nutty, Mr. Modi. He's doing some really wild things in his own country. And, Donnie keeps telling him what a great guy he was. His last international trip was to India where, Modi and Carrot Top were, having man sex, So, they had a football stadium with 100,000 people in it. That would be a good place to spread the love. So we're right at one of these very interesting. I keep talking about, I've been talking about a window of opportunity for a good year and a half now, right? And I left it open for conjuncture, for people to say what's going on. And, this is the opportunity to step up and be your better self. We have to see money for what it is: money, gold, silver, everything. What is it? I wonder how the corona attacks some blood types more or less. Well, we're all human beings, so we start from that point. And the other, different cohorts, there's not much. There's a little difference within your blood, within your what's that stuff they sell in your blood? That has more cohort type. But really, money comes and goes. Yep, money comes and goes. It's actually pretty worthwhile. I used to make a lot of money. Now I live on $481. Seems to work out, right? And you don't hear me whining or trying to sell you T-shirts or coffee cups on this channel here. I mean, I do have. You can go to the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and I do have what's it called? A PayPal account that you could drop stuff into if you wanted to. It'd be nice. But I ran up. And the HMO that used to take care of me, corporation bought them out because they have a nonprofit status and they can hide $600 billion there. They can launder $600 billion. And so they got rid of all the Medicaid, Medicare people who were their patients, which were, about 70%. And they have very good facilities. So, the rich people can go there now. And so I have no health care. I mean, I have nobody to kind of take care of me, And I used to drive 200 miles to go to that. And they had a pharmacy, and I used to get all of my medicines for about $40. And if I buy them here at the pharmacy, and that was $40 for 90 days. And here, if I 1 month is $2,800. So I have been going without medicine for a few weeks, and it's okay. Everything seems to be okay. My blood sugar is fair. Not I used to keep it between 90 and 111, and now it's between 125 and 140. But if I don't eat any, no breads, no carbohydrates, no sugars, no, just vegetables and fruits and proteins. Um, it's about 120, which is not bad. So, anyway, I just want to touch base with you because after watching that today's news conference, and this one person, do you blame yourself for the fact that America is the least tested country in the world? And he goes, that's a terrible question. Why? That's a nasty question. That's a vile question. No, I don't take any blame for this. It's not my fault. We had rules in charge that we couldn't do any better than what we did. And now we're going to go around those rules and we'll do better. Right? It'll be wonderful. It already is wonderful. We're going to have 5 million test kits out there by tomorrow. Right? He's lying. Right? And that's what she goes. She goes, excuse me, but that's a lie. That's 2 weeks ago, you said you'd have 1 million test kits out by, the next week. And that was 2 weeks ago. And you've not been able to produce any more than 5,800. And he goes, where are you getting your information? And then Fauci kind of, the smartest guy in the room kind of stands up and he says, oh, Mr. President, that's on the CDC website. And, Donna looks at him like, oh, if I could only fire you. But that's the smartest guy, right? So it was unbelievable. And then when he stepped in the back and other people started talking, he was looking like I said, Peter, the guy from the Family Guy. He was like looking off into space, and that little mind bubble that's above him is like, oh, I wonder what, when the flowers are going to come out or something like that. Mike Pence, the little mind bubble over his head was, he's looking at the butt of, the lady who runs CDC, and you could see he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to tap that," and the lady with the um, who's head of the CDC, she was going, because the CDC person, the Health General, and the guy NRH, the guy from NHHI, uh, and NSI, these which are all health kind of things, and then the black brain surgeon guy. It's like they're in grammar school fighting over who's going to be on top, and they're not worrying. Not nobody on that stage except Mr. Fucci, Dr. Fucci there, Anthony, was really worrying about the well-being of his, because he's the only one who said any truth. Every time that Carrot had lied, he go, "Excuse me, Mr. President, it's really this." I mean, he did it real time, right in front of him, knowing that he can't get fired. If Carrot Head fires him, boy, because everyone sees that he's the only guy on that whole stage who knows what he's doing, because they've been having hearings the last 2 weeks, and the woman who runs CDC and the guy who runs and then the health guy and the lady who runs Medicaid and Medicare couldn't tell the what you call it, the Congress and senators, how many people had been tested, and why it was taking so long, and what it cost, right? And so when Anthony was in front of those, he knew exactly the numbers, right? And he knew exactly. He said the reason why we're not testing, there's two reasons. One is that there's this, a lot of red tape, right? We should have never made the tests have to come back to the CDC laboratories. We should have had them, sprinkled around the states, but no one wanted to pay for it. And that's what he said. The reason why this is going so slow is that no one wants to pay for it. And that's the reason why Americans aren't being tested, because the federal, Donald Trump doesn't want to pay for it. Moscow Mitch doesn't want to pay for it. The crackers from the Freedom Congress don't want to pay for it. Mr. Mnuchin doesn't want to pay for it. Mini Mike wants, thinks, he wants to tap that and not pay for it. And the lady with the scarf, she doesn't want to pay for it. Nobody wants to pay for it, right? And so they, and Donnie definitely doesn't want to pay for it, because then everyone would be tested and the numbers would be through the roof. I bet you once they really start to get into, because Anthony basically said at this moment we could have at least 300,000 infected citizens. And the, um, average flu, one person with the flu gets two people sick. This thing gets between 8 and 20 people sick, one person. So if you have 300,000 people who are infected in America right now, and you multiply that by 20, 300,000 to, that's like, what is that, 60 million people? Right? And if you take just what the Chinese said have died, if you look at 60 million people infected in America, you're looking at 2 million people dead. And these numbers, if these are true, if this is really what I think it is, we will be seeing these numbers by August, right? And I would say the October surprise we're going to see is Donnie Trump is going to get ill, and he will have a costume malfunction, and that's my little euphemism for dying. He will have a, you know, this is our costume right here, our little bag of water. He will have a costume malfunction, and Mikey Pence will be, mini Mikey Pence will be our president. And I don't know how many of you have noticed how much he looks like Donald Sutherland in the Hunger Games. And so we will not have, forget basketball, forget baseball, we're not going to have an election, right? And mini Mikey Pence is going to be, our president. And he will declare a caliphate, a Christian caliphate, and all those folks who aren't Christians. And he will tell you what kind of Christian you need. Like Catholics, they're not Christians; they're pagans. You name it, and there he will have camps for people who aren't the proper Christian person, right? And then the movie goes from there. Let's see. Yep. Doctors are scared of people who don't know how viruses work. That's about 99% of the population. Yep. Yep. Your immune system needs, a little of it to know how to fight it off. But see, if this thing is a weaponized biological engineered strand of RNA, then all bets are off. Gang, go read Stephen King's book, The Stand. That's what we're looking at. It's the other thing that also put me about 3 years ago. All the microbiologists, all the virologists, all the people in public health that with pandemics started to die, of car crashes and spontaneous combustion, and they were being offed, so they couldn't be there to save the day. Yeah, let's see. The rest of the 15% are good people, and evil people, mainly the people of knowledge, is what you do with knowledge that counts. Yep. This is true. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yep. It's about stepping up, to be your better self. That's what it's about. That's why I'm doing Dreamy Dreamland, right? I didn't die in that plate of spaghetti. I was told to come back, keep it up. So this is what I'm doing. That's right. And being, I am one of those people that they say, oh, yeah, if you got this, or this, or this, you're at, well, that's me. I got all that stuff, So. Well, this isn't negativity. This is kind of what it is. Most people have just kept their head in the sand, and the economic crash, the pandemic, the war to end all wars that is coming. These aren't, fear porn. It's just kind of what it is, and it's been what it is pretty much since humans have been on this planet. The most important thing is your personal self. You're leading by a positive, good example. Every day in every way, you take the piece of the earth and you make it stronger with love's co-creation. You do that, you won't have to worry about anything because all this is an illusion. Just take every moment of your life and make it the best. Make it really good. Make it happy. You know, be there for others. Right? Serve love's co-creation, not yourself. It's like one of those. I was looking through a little square in a screen door one time, tripping, and I saw the whole universe in one little square. And for about 15 hours, I sat on the floor in front of that screen door going, it is, it is. And I was, saying it out loud. It is. And I was in my friend's mother's house. And she was just looking at me going, all right. So I'm going out shopping now. And instead of like stepping over me and going out the front door, she went out the back door, went out the side. Now you be good. Don't start any fires. I hit all the matches. I'm just sitting looking through a square in the screen door going, it is. It is. And I saw the whole universe going by in little flicks of patterns of things in that screen door. It is. It is. And then I just kind of fell backwards. I was sitting in satsang. My legs were tucked up underneath me. And when I fell backwards, she had put a little pillow back there. So she had a sense that I was going to fall backwards. So I had a pillow back there. And my legs were so asleep, they stuck up in the air. And she came in and she found me that way. And she kind of unsquirreled my legs and pushed them down flat on the ground and dragged me to a corner of the living room where I wasn't so much in the way. And I fell asleep there. And the next morning at breakfast, I wake up. I'm still in the same clothes I was in. I got a terrible taste in my mouth. I go upstairs, brush my teeth, come down. And she made breakfast. And she said to me, so what it is? What is it? She was almost like, she was talking street talk. She said, what it is? I said, that's what it is. And we were like, first spent 20 minutes being Abbott and Costello going, what it is, it is. That's what it is. It is. See, it is. See, it is. It is. And then after that, we finished a pot of coffee. She said, okay, I got to go to work. Are you okay? I said, yep, I'm going back to work tomorrow. I'm just going to go upstairs to that bed of mine and go to sleep. She goes, good idea. Take a shower. You need to. So it is, it is, right? Let's see, what else are you guys saying here? Tree of knowledge, good and evil. Don't want to pay for will play. Pay the highest price. Spread negativity. Those who didn't take the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. When they test those things, used to be a guy who looked at numbers, a demographer, and I worked on a number of blind studies, right? And I would set up the questions and the protocols. It's not so much the medical thing, but the questions and the protocols. So anyway, what was quite interesting was in all of the medical tests, all the medical blind tests, you had a problem. They split the group 50-50. and they would give half the group the drug and the other half a placebo. And virtually every time I studied this, the people who had the placebo did much better than the folk who took the real drug. And the people who took the real drug, they only got cured in a number of that would, I mean, if you were praying, like, or wanting to be, faith healed, it seemed you had a good odds of being healed by someone praying over you than the new drug that just came out, because the side effects were so wicked that, wouldn't you rather, have psoriasis rather than having, fire hose diarrhea and vomit at the same time, right? Going blind and deaf and speaking in tongues, where your skin would turn, into scales and you'd be a lizard, So, but some people take the vaccines and they do very good. So, and I have my feeling that has a lot more to do with the intent. I wonder if those who didn't take the vaccine would be more affected or less. You owned the school? Yep, I own the school. Owned, past tense. But in reality, no one owns the school. The school is a presence all to itself. All you really end up doing is paying the property tax. That's all I did. I paid the property tax. But I did that for 15 years, give or take, right? And it was I had 3 other houses. This is when I was, doing pretty well, working for the corporate man. And I had a house down in the Florida Keys, and I had one in the mountains of North Carolina, near Waynesville, right near the Cherokee tribe, near their res. I had worked for the Cherokee, so I had a lot of friends up there. It was kind of right on the border of the Cherokee County, which is right on the border of Georgia. And there's this other county called Madison. And it was right up in those mountains, really nice. And again, it was kind of like the deep greens. It's like between the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Appalachian Mountains. Really not, a lot of water. It's like, French Broad, Nolichucky, a whole bunch of rivers there that are really beautiful. And I lived up there. And if I went down one side of the hill, I would be walking into my Cherokee friends, because I helped build a database for them to define their tribal status with the federal government. And we were able to do that, so they got to be put on the register and they could have gambling, right? So they were happy with us. Most of all, essential is equals is. This natural. This not natural? Yes. Yeah, Lana, you're speaking my language, girlfriend. I sometimes think that for the spirit to rise, the body must be fully asleep, like completely shut down. Well, that's kind of, when I try to bring you guys into guided meditation, that's exactly, breathe that extra 20% in, breathe out that extra 30%. Your little squirrel in your head will quiet up, and the dogs are barking. There must be animals outside. I'm not letting them out. So, as my teacher used to always say to me, and I'm old enough to have been around when things were really bad. 1968. Oh, it looked pretty bad. Vietnam War. The Pentagon Papers came out and said, this war is a fiasco. No matter what, we don't know what we're doing here. Very similar to the papers that came out recently in the Washington Post that basically said from the day we were in Afghanistan, we did the wrong things, right? And we just kept doing the wrong. We've been in Afghanistan almost 20 years, and we have done nothing but made a mess of it. And same with Iraq. And we're about to have a war in Iraq because the Iraqi people want us out of there. They're tired of us, being the outside infidel. They don't want us anymore. And we know better, and we're going to stay there because guys like Boeing and General Dynamics and Blackwater and all those private contractors are making a fortune in the trillions of dollars. We have spent over $40 trillion in the wars in the Middle East since 91. And I would say, instead of saying the Middle East, I would just say Africa, because the Middle East is part of Africa. So since the Spanish-American War, the United States had been in non-stop wars, right? And endless stupid wars that they were just there to get our ability to access and steal. It's based on this consumption. We take things from the ground, turn them into stuff, use it up, and throw it away, right? And that's where we're at. So we forget healing the virus, getting it. We need to heal our soul. We have to have another thing in our life that isn't about stealing other people's, making useless crap out of that stuff, and killing people for it on every level, right? We have to accept our true self is that of a loving spirit. We're not merchants, we're not, pirates, we're not mercenaries. We are loving beings. And unless we can express ourselves in that state, well, and the thing is that we're not going to die. It'd be one thing if we just went, out of existence like the dodo or something, we made ourselves, we're unsustainable. Okay, bingo, we're gone. But no, we are going to be here until we work this out. No matter if we have to go and become a different species, Now, Bill Gates is working hard on turning us into transhuman thing. We will still be what we are, because we already are a transhuman, meaning that our avatars, our bodies, our bags of water, our mud puppet, it is, not real. It's not what our soul is. It's not our ascending, spirit of our first person, Now, what else you guys got to say here? Let's see. Interesting. Let's see. That for the spirit to rise, the body must be fully asleep. I wonder if a stem cell can help against this. Again, the thing that will heal this is our intent. Whatever drug, there are a lot of mushrooms that are very good to be antiviral. Eat a lot of vitamin C. Drink a lot of water. Breathe in tea tree oil and the hives, and there are a whole bunch of that will mitigate this, because your body will get over it. 99% of the people, their bodies will get over this. Just like you get over a cold or a flu. Just take care of yourself. Wash your hands. Don't stress yourself out. Eat well. Take these supplements. The B's are very good. D3 is very good. Take all of these things, go look them up. They're all in any good vitamin/herbal book will tell you what to look at. Hyssop is good, elm is good, licorice good, golden seal good. And go to any good health food stores that have a good herbal department, and this will all be there, right? So, like I said, majority of us, this will just be a flu. This will just be a cold. No big deal. A lot of people will die, but no more than per capita of the people who die of flu. No more than those who commit suicide. No more than Now, if this is a really bad pandemic, so in the United States, we'll have around 1 million people die. Well, in the United States, every year from all the different things, about 20 million people die. So put it in perspective. Right? Now, you have to think, the thing you should be really thinking about is, so the people like me who look at trends and look for certain things, I saw that, all of these, virologists, all these doctors and scientists and chemists who were specialists about virulent pathogens died mysteriously over a year and a half, 500 of them. I mean, more than the natural, no, it averaged maybe 14 die a year of that specific discipline of science, and then 500 of them died within a year and a half. Well, to me, that was like, look at that. And then this laboratory in Canada sent these deadly strains all over the world by mail. If the package broke, in transportation, we could have had a pandemic then, right? And there is a military weaponized, biological laboratory in China, in Hunan, because it's an industrial town. And it received strains of, Camaras from that same Canadian laboratory about a year ago. And this is when we were going into, our trade war with China. And so that kind of was just a little blip. Oh, we're not going to send any of these technologies to these guys anymore, right? And then they became the largest producers of all of those technologies, Well, we're not going to buy them. Like they make all our medicines, We will run out of medicines unless they make them for us, because we don't make them here anymore. All of the ventilation, all the breathing technology, it's all made in China. So, and they had it all. China had good facilities, and in Hunan, their hospitals collapsed. They couldn't keep up with all the sick people, and that's what it is. It's not so much. It's like this spike. When it spikes, that's when we have less resources than Italy, right? And we're not doing anything to change that around. Now, here it is Friday. By this time Wednesday, if we still have not tested more people, we have tested less than 10,000 people by next Wednesday, you can know that the horse is definitely out of the barn. If they have not started to ramp up the ICUs and hospitals, put more beds in the hospitals. We used to have 100,000 more beds in 1990 than we do now. But the HMOs, we don't need those, and they got rid of them. Now, they were there because the people who ran those hospitals knew they needed a little pillow, just in case something happened. Well, we don't have that pillow no more, right? So if we're really lucky, we will get out of this by the skin of our chinny chin chin. And you know, but there are other things like you hear people talking about our infrastructure. Now that's not potholes. That's our power lines. We have not redone anything with our power grid since 1961. Our power grid is totally run by the internet, right? And but that technology is from the 60s. Any kid in the basement could hack that shit and throw, the United States into darkness. They've done that. After 9/11, you'd think they would have stepped up to that. No. We have about 400 nuclear power plants in the United States. And because of Ronald Reagan, he signed an executive order saying they can run as long as they can run, as long as they can run. And they were all designed to be closed down by the 1980s. Well, we've gone way past that. And there's a thing called Indian Point in New York, right off the Hudson. It is the oldest nuclear power plant in the United States. And it's still running because of this executive order that Ronald Reagan signed. Now, he wasn't a nuclear engineer. He knew nothing about it. He just signed it because his overlords at Chase Manhattan Bank told him to. So he did. Because, they, through the Rothschild, Mr. Rothschild owns all our utilities. And you look at what he did to California, why they had those fires. You go look at PSG and E and that Mr. And so they have, I don't know, 40 to 60 nuclear reactors in California, and they're all along the San Andreas Fault. They're all along the coast. That if a big earthquake comes, that coast is going to crack and fall into the ocean. And you thought, Fukushima was bad? Ooh, baby. Now, they could be mitigating because half of those have been closed. And they could be mitigating by cleaning up those plants, and they have these pools full of spent fuel rods. And they could be taking them to a safe place. But they haven't because Mr. Rothschild, at least this is in California, went bankrupt. And so nobody's in charge of those rods, which are also, weapons grade. And so you think this little flu is bad? Wait till some really crazy people get a hold of that shit and start spreading that around. We. So, yeah, things, one of my teachers, who would say, all things are as they should be, because everything can be a lot worse than it is now. Right? Now I'm happy to be in my 70s, and I'm happy to be here on Dreamy Dreamland telling you stories so you might wake up, right? Not be woke, but woken up, to be awake, to be aware, to be uh, officially on the job, to co create with love, to ascend your spirit, right? And if you do that, you will be an example. You will be the little pebble in the pond making the vibrations to heal the planet. So let's you get things, you know, righteous with yourself. Because when you're righteous with yourself, then you can be righteous with everybody else. And when you're doing that, that's when you're the example that people go, wow, I want to be like that. And they will figure it out for themselves. But until they start seeing examples like that for themselves, well, it's not going to be a pretty sight. Ugh. Everything happens for a reason, no matter how you put it. Children put this upon themselves, and everything that happens in our universe is the will of God because He gives us choice. Yep, exactly. And that's, I would put it in a different syntax than that. I would say everything is an illusion. The only thing that is real is, love's co-creation. And, if I were doing it in emojis, I'd say God, equal signs, love's co-creation, right? Because I'm not big on anthropomorphizing, God. I'm not, full of myself enough to tell you what, God's thinking, right? All I can do is serve love's co-creation, which is God, right? And when you say that, you know, it's all our fault, everything happens for a reason, yes, no matter how you put it. Yep. And that reason, there's only one reason why things happen. They happen so we can learn from our mistakes. Why did we fall down? To get up and do better, right? So you have to realize, if you want to call it God or love's co-creation, it created everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, right? There is no real evil because love's co-creation made everything and put us in the middle of it so we could teach ourselves to ascend to a higher plane, right? So I've been going on for about an hour and 7 minutes, and there's 3 of you there. And so everybody wants to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me at the dude awake at 42 at Gmail. And there's a PayPal there. If you want to throw some in there, that'd be appreciated. And I'd love it if you guys would go read my novels at xratted.blog.com, right? Blogspot.com. And, leave some, things, written words, comments at the bottom of this channel. That would be nice. And here's a list of people. So, that young lady, you would like these people. Dana Ashley, right? DANAASHILE, right? Cliff High, HIGH, right? Stopthecrime.net. Democracy Now. Let's see. Last week, tonight, with John Oliver. That's pretty good. Anonymous.org. The Jimmy Dore Show. Politics and Prose. Quite frankly, Dark Journalism. Truth Stream Media. The Crow House. Oppenheimer Ranch, right? Those are all pretty good sites. Go visit them. See what you think. Come back and talk about it with me. If you want to have a private conversation, I'd love it. The dude awake 42 at Gmail. Well, okay, I'm kind of nodding off here, so I'm gonna let's see. Atlanta is what a station was for that moment. A leader is what the situation wants for the moment. Yep. For God lives in the heart and the soul lives in the eyes. I like that planet. Very nice. Yes. I mean, at moments like this, it's always good to have a good leader. And we right now don't have a good leader. And the United States really hasn't had a good leader almost ever. If you were to take this macro and micro way of looking at things, in the micro way, really fair leader we've had in the last few hundred years has been FDR. Rest pretty much scum. FDR, he was a rich guy. He was president to save America for the rich. He saved capitalism. He didn't save the worker. He gave the worker a little piece of cheese so they wouldn't rebel. And we're at a real close. The only reason we don't have a revolution right now is that the powers that be, or shouldn't be, have splintered everyone up to the point where there's so many fractions you couldn't have a civil war. Let's see. Lead by example. Yep, that's what I try and do. And every day and every way, I take the piece of the earth and I make it stronger through my service to love's co-creation, through my faith in love's co-creation. Right? I have no belief in anything. I don't believe in anything, but I have faith in love's co-creation. And that's stronger than any belief, any assumption, any opinion. I am here to serve love's co-creation. And I'm here to be your sensei. I'm here to be your griot. I'm here to lead by example the cadre, the chorus. I speak up. I speak for the chorus, right? Yep. So, what time is it? 10:10. Okay, it's a good time to go. Well, look at that. It's 1:12:12. I love it when that happens. So when the time hits 10:12, we'll say good night, sweet, sweet dreams to you. Let you not be blue. Be sweet, be kind, be empathetic, be the good example. And every day and every way, take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. And I love all you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to probably go into Johnson City, so I'll go to my Richie Rich place for breakfast and talk to you there from the paneled wood dining hall. Okay? Love you guys.